Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behaviour of a Cavoodle puppy. So, if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, and welcome back to episode 56 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas, and I'm your host and your Cavoodle puppy coach. And in today's episode, I want to talk about whether your Cavoodle doesn't like other dogs or if they're actually nervous or anxious or scared around other dogs. And the reason why this topic came to my brain is I got a comment on one of my TikTok videos from a lady who has a little puppy, and when she takes her Cavoodle to the dog park, the Cavoodle just sits there and doesn't interact with any of the other dogs. And she went to the vet, and the vet told her that her dog was nervous and that she needed to do more socializing with the dog so that the dog would build up its confidence and actually go and interact with the dogs at the dog park. And she asked me how do I do this? And it brought me to this episode. And the main thing I want to first say about this whole topic, two things actually. The first thing I always want to say, and this is just as a cautionary warning to anyone who takes their dog to the dog park, is to be very careful when doing this, just because you simply don't know the other dogs in the dog park, and you don't know how the other dogs in the dog park react when dogs try and play with them. When I used to work at my local vet clinic, we used to have dogs rushed in all the time, emergencies, because they've just been at the dog park and they got into a fight, and they have an ear that's half ripped off, they have puncture wounds in their mouth because another dog has bitten them. Horrible stories, horrible situations like this. And so I am not one to advocate for dog parks. I think a dog park that is empty is a great place to go and practice some training, like recall in public settings. That's great. But when there are other dogs in the dog park, I always just say, please be really, really careful, because you just don't know the other dogs. You don't know their story, you don't know their background, you don't know their training, you don't know how they react. And let's say, for example, someone is in the dog park with their dog and the dog is playing fetch, and then your dog tries to go and grab the ball. You don't know if that other dog is very possessive of the ball. You don't know how that other dog is going to react to another dog coming to take their ball. And so dog parks can be a recipe for disaster. And so if you are going to the dog park, please just be careful. And please don't think that dog parks are the place to socialize your dog, because socialization for a Cavoodle is not about playing with other dogs. It's about observing dogs and staying calm and relaxed around them. And that's a really important distinction to make if you are trying to socialize your dog. And if you can hear a dog barking in the background of this, I'm not sure if it's registering. That's my neighbor's dog. It barks all day, and I'm very, very sorry. So that's the first thing I want to say about this episode, is just be careful about dog parks. It's not something I ever recommend going into if there are other dogs in the dog park. But now let's talk about the other thing I want to say, the other really important thing I just want to explain first. And that is that dogs have different personalities, just like humans have different personalities. And some humans are very extroverted and they thrive in social settings and they get energized and they love talking and meeting people and making friends with everyone. And then there are some humans who are a bit more introverted and they prefer their own company, they prefer their own space, they prefer their own thoughts, and they don't really thrive off of social settings. And for humans, we respect this. We respect these preferences from a human, whether they love being in social settings or whether they like to be on their own more. I'm definitely more of an introvert myself. I thrive on when I'm alone with my dogs. That's when I feel energized. But not often, a lot of the time, when people see a dog who isn't wanting to interact with other dogs, they think this is a problem. They think something is wrong with their dog and they get concerned because they assume that every dog should want to play with other dogs. And this simply is not the case, okay? Some dogs are just not very extroverted and some dogs just don't like playing with other dogs. I have a Cavoodle myself who is like this, Nessie. She will give a sniff to another dog, but she's not one to start playing with them. And she doesn't get excited going to see them. She rather is exploring on her own and sniffing around and doing her own thing. And that's okay. The important thing we have to be able to distinguish though is my dog more introverted and just doesn't like social interactions? Or is my Cavoodle feeling really stressed, really anxious, really nervous, or really scared around other dogs? And is this stopping them from interacting? That's the important thing we have to hone in on and really try and figure out. Because if we are having a Cavoodle who isn't feeling comfortable in these social settings, it is then your job as their mum or dad to help them to grow their confidence and help them feel more comfortable in these social settings. Because no dog should ever be in a situation where they are feeling so stressed and anxious that they can't move and they just sit there, because that's horrible. That's horrible for them, and we need to step in and help them. So another thing to also keep in mind, so we've just covered that Cavoodles do have, some are extroverted and some are introverted, and this is absolutely 100% true. But let's talk about things that can cause this and can influence whether they are extroverted or introverted. And one of the things, there's two things actually, there's two things that really influence this. The first one is genetics, and the second one is early experiences. So for genetics, this is something that was, I really started to see for myself when I bred Cavoodles. Before this, I always knew that genetics influenced a puppy's temperament, but when I got to see it firsthand, my goodness, it is incredible how many things get passed through genetics from the parent dogs to the puppy dogs. And one of the things that gets passed through is definitely their different temperament traits. Not all temperament traits, every dog's going to have their own, but you can definitely see temperament traits being passed through from mum or dad dogs to their puppies. I'll give you an example of one of them. And this is one that I've really been able to see fully flourish. So my Cavoodle Nessie, she was bred with my grandparents' poodle Max. And they had many litters of puppies together. And my sister actually ended up keeping one of the puppies. And I see my sister multiple times a week. I see her all the time. And so I've been able to watch Junie grow up. And Junie has just turned 2 years old. And she sees her mum and dad all the time. She sees Nessie, her mum. She sees Max, her dad. And I've been able to see her personality really flourish. And the thing that to this day, I cannot get over and I cannot get past is how much of Nessie and Max I see in Junie. For example, the way that Junie walks and the way that Junie runs. Her front right leg as she walks and runs, kind of, not in any sort of weird way, but as she runs her gait, her right leg slightly comes out a little bit, just like her dad. And that is something that her dad, she didn't really get to see that much. She saw Nessie all the time, but Max lived with my grandparents. So he sired the litter and then he lived with my grandparents. So Junie only saw him maybe once or twice in the first few months of her life because she wasn't fully vaccinated. We weren't taking her out to acreage or anything like that. Yet, even though she didn't have that much experience and exposure with Max when she was young, she was born, and as soon as she started walking, she had this little gait to her front right leg that was exactly like her dad's. Another example, she got so many traits from her dad, it's so sweet. But something about Max is Max will come over to you and he will put his head on your leg. Like if you're sitting down on a chair, he will come over, he'll put his head on your lap and he will gaze up into your eyes. And he just puts all of his body weight onto you, and he'll use a little paw and he'll put it on your leg, like on your lap. While staring at you with the most loving expression. And again, Junie, who has not been around Max all that much, at least not enough to really start to copy him in any sort of way, as soon as she was a puppy and she was again walking around, she started doing this. And those are two physical traits, but we can definitely also look at more emotional traits, mental traits. Junie's bark is the exact same pitch and the exact same style of bark as her dad in terms of her little temperament traits. The way that she explores things is the same way as her mum explores things. And this is obviously, I'm able to see this because Junie is a puppy that I bred and then my sister ended up keeping her. So I've seen it really grow. But when I've also had families who have got a puppy from me in the past come and visit me, I've been able to see all of these little personality traits in their cavoodles as well from the parent dogs. And so the reason why this is relevant is if you are getting a puppy from a breeder and the parents are very, very introverted, very quiet, it is very, very possible that your puppy is also going to have those same temperament traits simply because those are the genetics, it's inherited. Or on the other hand, if you have very, very extroverted, very, very friendly dogs, your puppy can inherit this as well. Or they can inherit the opposite. They could inherit genes from a few generations back from a poodle parent or a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel parent. There's so much to genetics. But the point of it is that your cavoodle's personality has been influenced by its genetics. And so some dogs are introverted, some dogs are extroverted, and it could be because of their mum or dad. The second point as to what can influence your puppy's personality is their early experiences. And when I am explaining early experiences, I am talking about early experiences with the breeder and then early experiences within the first couple of months with their new family. So with the breeder, and everyone knows this if you've listened to a few episodes of the podcast. If not, and this is your first time here, hello and welcome. But your cavoodle goes into this period of development called their critical socialization period from 3 weeks of age, and it lasts until they're about 12 weeks of age. And during this time, it is literally when your cavoodle is creating their ideas and their perceptions of the world, and they are discovering what is safe, what is dangerous, what is fun, what is boring, and they're making up their mind and they're making up their decisions on everything in their world. So they're deciding if they really love to interact with humans or if they're not interested by that. They're deciding if a doggy door is scary or if it's nothing to be bothered by. They're discovering if they find that using their nose to explore can be really rewarding, or if they never use their nose and then they can really struggle with training later on. They are forming all of these really early experiences, and one of them also is whether or not they feel confident within themselves to explore something. If they feel confident within themselves to walk up to a stranger, if they feel confident within themselves to walk up to a new dog. And so from 3 to 12 weeks of age, your puppy is going through this developmental period, and that is when they are making their decisions on all of these different things in their environment. And if we are not doing the right kind of exposures, the right kind of desensitization to make sure our cavoodle puppies do feel confident in every area of their life, if they don't have those really positive experiences with people and dogs when they're in this period, they can definitely be a lot more quiet, a lot more reserved and scared or anxious around dogs in the future. And that can definitely lead to your dog not interacting with other dogs if they're at a dog park. Which again, I don't recommend dog parks, but we're using this because I got the comment on TikTok about this. So you have genetics and you have early experiences, and those sort of things will really influence your puppy's temperament. Now, if you are getting a puppy from a breeder, if the breeder has a playpen and it sits in the backyard and the puppies are in this playpen and there's a few soft toys in the playpen, and that is the extent of the breeder's involvement in raising the puppies, this is not enough. You are going to have a very anxious, a very nervous cavoodle, maybe a very reactive cavoodle because they are so anxious and they don't know how to process the world. And that is because sitting in a little playpen with a few soft toys is not actually utilizing this critical socialization period and showing these cavoodle puppies what is in the world and how to feel about all these things. Instead, the right kind of breeder and a good breeder of cavoodle puppies, they will be raising one litter, 1 or 2 litters at a time, and it'll be their full-time job. So they're not just going to work in an office job and then coming home and feeding puppies. Breeding is their full-time job, and every single day with their litters of puppies, they are working one-on-one with each puppy to move them through a curriculum program that is specifically designed to make sure They are building the Cavoodle's confidence, desensitizing them to all the things in a family's lifestyle, socializing them properly, and making sure that the puppy is learning how to interact and engage with humans in return for some rewards, which will help the puppy learn how to train when they go to their new families. And so the good breeders will have them in a curriculum program, and it'll be making use of every single day in your puppy's critical socialization period. Then the breeder will give the puppy to you at about 8 weeks of age, and then it is up to you, the family, to continue this curriculum program for the next 4 weeks until your puppy reaches about 12 weeks of age, and then continuing it for another few months while your puppy is still learning. But the most influential and impactful time of this learning is when they are under 12 weeks of age. Now, breeders don't actually hand a puppy over to you with a curriculum program. That is actually where I come in, because I was a breeder and I had a curriculum program for my puppies, and I was giving my puppies to these new families, and the families didn't know how to continue it. And so that's when I created the Cavoodle Training Academy, so that it is a program that follows on from what the breeders do to the new family. And so you will be able to make sure you are socializing your puppy properly, you are engaging them in enough enrichment, confidence building activities, desensitization activities, making sure they are feeling confident with humans and dogs and doggy doors and hair dryers and scissors, different surfaces, cars, scooters, buses, all those sort of things, so that we can make sure that these early experiences that our Cavoodle puppy is having is going to make sure that they are actually very confident within themselves, very comfortable in your lifestyle, in your environment, in your world. And therefore, if we then take them to a social setting and they don't want to interact with the dogs, we know that that's because they are more introverted by nature and they're not really fazed by that interaction. And that is completely okay. Or on the other hand, if we take them to these social settings and they really want to engage and play with these dogs, we know they are more extroverted in their personality, and that's also okay. But if we have made sure that we've chosen good genetics for our Cavoodle puppies, they have had some really good early experiences with the breeder's curriculum program, and then your own curriculum program that you follow when you bring your puppy home, aka my Cavoodle Training Academy, which will do it all for you. You just have to follow it every single day for 28 days. Then we know that your puppy is not going to be going into these public settings and not interacting because they are nervous or scared or anxious. And this is so important. And the reason why it is so important is everyone here listening to this podcast absolutely has this vision in their head of their dream Cavoodle. They have this vision of what they want their life to look like with this Cavoodle. And I can guarantee that everyone who's getting a Cavoodle has this dream and this vision of actually going out into public with their Cavoodle puppy, actually leaving the house with them. No one is getting a dog to have them locked into a house. We want to go on walks, we want to go to cafes, we want to go to sports game, we want to go to the shops, we want to go to the markets, we want to do all this stuff with our Cavoodle puppies. We want to go to the beach, we want to go on hikes, right? So if that is your vision and your dream with your Cavoodle puppy, it is so important that they are being properly raised so that they have plenty of self-confidence and don't suffer from anxiety. Because if your puppy does not feel comfortable and confident in social settings, what's going to happen is your puppy is going to have a fear response, and every dog will have a fear response, and they are born with it. And their fear response will either be fight, flight, or freeze. So if their reaction is freeze, they sit there and they freeze and they just don't move. If it's flight, they try and run away. And if it's fight, it means they try and go head on with whatever is making them feel nervous or scared. And it can be aggression, it can be biting, growling, or it can just be barking. Now, if your puppy has that reaction, you can't go out in public with them, because it means that as soon as they feel nervous or uncertain or anxious or scared, and usually that will be as soon as you exit the house because they haven't been properly socialized and trained, they are going to have this fear reaction, and you won't be able to take them out easily. You'll feel embarrassed, you'll be stressed yourself, you'll feel like it's way too hard, and so you'll end up leaving your puppy at home, which does not help the situation of their confidence, it just makes it worse. But it's also so sad for you and the puppy. No dog deserves to spend their entire life in the four walls of your house. They are meant to be out in public, socializing and experiencing the world. They should be enriched every day, mentally and physically. And this means you have to involve them in your lifestyle. And I can guarantee, like I've just said, no one here is getting a Cavoodle to have them locked in their house. We are getting a Cavoodle because we want to have them as part of our lives and we want to take them out with us. And so that's why it's really important that you are doing the right training, the right socializing, the right enrichment program, the right curriculum program when your puppy is young and in that critical socialization period, so that you can ensure that when your puppy does go out in public, they feel fine. They feel comfortable. They feel confident. And even if they sit there quietly and watching other dogs, it's not because they are scared. It's because they're more introverted and they don't really care for that sort of interaction. And that is really, really important. And there is nothing wrong with having an introverted dog. I personally absolutely love it. It makes going out really easy. But if my dog was scared and anxious and they had that fight, flight, or freeze response, I wouldn't have that flexibility to go out. So it's really important. I hope this is coming across in your understanding that your puppy's temperament is influenced by their genetics and their early experiences. You have to find a good breeder who raises their puppy on a curriculum program, that raises their puppy on a program that takes up the entire day. So your breeder doesn't have another job. Your breeder sole job is breeding. They might follow a curriculum program called Puppy Culture or the Empowered Breeder program. They're two very popular programs for breeders that they follow. And then the breeder is also matching the right temperament up to the right family's lifestyle. I've talked about this in plenty of past episodes. You can go back and listen to them. And then you bring your puppy home, and the day you bring your puppy home, which is about 8 weeks of age, you get started in your own curriculum program to make sure we follow on from this really good work that the breeder has done. And we make sure we are exposing our puppy positively to our entire lifestyle, our entire world, so that they are very comfortable and confident with it. And then we will then have the flexibility to do whatever we want with our Cavoodle puppy without any stress and without them barking or growling or trying to run away or jumping on everyone they see because of their overexcitement. This is really, really important. And if you are bringing your puppy home, maybe they're 12 weeks old, maybe they're 15 weeks old, maybe they're 16 weeks, maybe you've already had them for a month, whatever the case, please know it's not too late to create these really positive experiences for your puppy. It's a lot easier when they're under 12 weeks of age because their brain is in a different stage of development and they learn things a lot more quickly. When they're older, it takes longer, but it's not impossible. So if you've had your puppy for a few weeks or they're 15, 16, 17 weeks old and you want to try and do your best now to really set them up for your lifestyle, you absolutely can still join my Cavoodle Training Academy. It's a 4-week program, and it will take you through 28 days of daily training and socialization schedules that can be moved around depending on what your own lifestyle is like. So if you're working 9 to 5 or shift work or you're at home with kids, whatever the case, and you can make sure that you have done everything you can to positively and correctly expose your puppy to your life, to build their confidence so that they don't experience any of this anxiety or fear in public. And it'll give you the best chance at having that dream Cavoodle you've always envisioned. And so whether you're getting your puppy soon, you've already got your Cavoodle puppy, the link is in the show notes. Please feel free to join the program. If you're not sure if it's the right program for you, you can send me an email at hello@oodleway.co. I'd be happy to let you know if it's suitable for you and your puppy and your family situation. But the most important thing to know is that it's going to properly work on your puppy's emotional regulation so that they can go into public and be part of your lifestyle without freaking out. And this is really important because the Cavoodle who freaks out is a Cavoodle that ends up spending their life inside your house, and it's cruel for the puppy, and it's upsetting for you as the family. So that's the Cavoodle Training Academy. I would love to see you in there, of course. And it is a program that flows on from a breeder's curriculum program. If you're getting a puppy from a breeder who didn't have a curriculum program, it's even more important that you join the Cavoodle Training Academy because you have to try and make up for the lack of work the breeder didn't do. So it's even more important that you do a 4-week program to really properly socialize, desensitize, and build the confidence in your Cavoodle puppy. This is essential. But yes, hopefully I see some of you in the Cavoodle Training Academy. And the last thing I want to do before we end this episode is I want to talk about, we've talked about now what influences a puppy's temperament and how some can be introverted, some can be extroverted, and how the genetics and the early experiences can really shape these temperament traits in your puppy. The last thing I want to talk about is for those of you out there who have a Cavoodle or another Oodle, small breed dog, and you take them out in public and you're not sure if your puppy is nervous or scared or anxious or if they're introverted, I'm going to go through just a few different signs that your puppy is not feeling comfortable in their environment. So if you have a Cavoodle puppy, next time you go out, follow these things and just check. And if you find that your puppy is not coping well and your puppy is actually nervous or anxious or fearful, if they are under 20 weeks of age, join the Cavoodle Training Academy. If they're over 20 weeks of age, then it's time for you to go and work one-on-one with a behavioural trainer so that they can help you change these perceptions in your dog's brain so that they can start to feel confident in these social settings. And this is really important because it only is going to get worse. And the longer a dog goes in public settings not feeling comfortable, the closer they get pushed to being aggressive because they are so scared or anxious. So really important to get on top of it as soon as you recognize these signs. Okay, so the common signs of nervousness of your Cavoodle around other dogs is we have to look at their body language. So if we see their tail is tucked really low, first sign of a dog not confident. If we see a very stiff body, that's also a really good sign that they are nervous. If we see their ears are pressing back into their head rather than just sitting in a normal restful position on the side of their face, that is another good sign that they're really nervous. If we see really wide eyes, so your puppy's eyes seem really wide and they're just staring, that's a sign of being really nervous or anxious. If they are sitting there and they are panting and it's not hot, that is a sign that they are really scared or anxious or nervous. If they are doing a lot of yawning out of context, so it's not late at night, they're not tired, it's the middle of the day, and they're sitting there yawning, that's a really good sign that your puppy's not feeling comfortable. If your puppy is, I already said, had their tongue out and they were panting, if your puppy, this is a big one, if your puppy refuses to take a treat from your hand when out in public, this is your number one sign that they are nervous, anxious, scared, worked up, not feeling comfortable and confident. A dog should take food, especially a yummy treat like some boiled chicken, out of your hand whenever they get the chance. And if they are refusing it, it is because they feel so worked up inside that they can't possibly eat anything. And so that means your dog is way too nervous, anxious, scared, and you either need the Cavoodle Training Academy if your puppy is under 20 weeks of age, or you need a behaviouralist ASAP. Now, if you've gone through all of these different signs, maybe your puppy also hides behind you, that's another example, or they're growling or barking or snapping when dogs or people approach you, that's all signs that your puppy is not feeling comfortable. If you've gone through all of these and your puppy isn't showing any of these common signs of nervousness, anxiety, or fear, then we can start to make the assumption that they're just antisocial and they just prefer to watch from a distance, which is totally fine. Completely fine. Every dog can have their own personality. They can have their own preferences on what they do. And if they don't want to interact with other dogs and play with them, totally fine. Unless, of course, we have any of those signs of nervousness, anxiety, or fear from your dog. So with all of that said, I hope this episode has really opened your eyes onto the behavior of a Cavoodle, what influences their personality, their introvertedness or their extrovertedness, how to tell if they are nervous or anxious or fearful, and why it is so important that when we are getting a puppy, we put some thought into it. We find a really good breeder who follows the curriculum program, and then we follow a really good training program designed specifically for Cavoodles so that we can really build their confidence up, so that our puppy is comfortable in our lifestyle, which will give us the dog we have dreamed of forever. And that's what I want for everyone. I want you all to experience the absolute joy it is to take your Cavoodle out as your best friend, and I want every Cavoodle to live a life with a family where they are out seeing the world and experiencing so many fun things, because every Cavoodle deserves that life and it is our job to give it to them. So training is important for Cavoodles. I'd love to see you in the Cavoodle Training Academy. If you're getting a Cavoodle puppy or you've already brought one home and they're still young, the link is in the show notes. You get access to the whole program for 365 days, and there is a really big Cavoodle preparation module. So if you haven't yet got your Cavoodle, but you're thinking of getting one in the coming months, please join the program now. There is so much early work to work through before you bring your puppy home that is going to make the transition for your puppy into your house so much smoother, so much easier, so much less stressful, and you'll get a puppy who sleeps through the night from night one if you can get all this pre-work done. So you can join for now, 365 days access, and then once your puppy comes home, it is 28 days of training following some schedules I personally have created and I personally follow with my Cavoodle puppies. And then every week for 4 weeks, you can jump onto a Q&A call with me in a group setting, and you can ask me any questions you have about your puppy so I can help you through those 4 weeks with your puppy to make sure you're feeling comfortable, you're feeling confident in your training, and you're getting the results. And when your puppy starts to bite or jump, or your puppy has an accident inside the house, I can give you personalized guidance on what to do to help get your puppy through that stage depending on your family and your lifestyle. So hopefully I'll see you in the Cavoodle Training Academy. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week for another episode of the Cavoodle Coach Podcast. This has been your Cavoodle Coach, Tiana Karamais. I'll see you later. Bye.